As we round out this week's show, we quickly talk about, and it's crazy to think, AEW Dynasty, it's this Sunday night, and as of right now, there's only 6 matches on the card, and it's amazing. I'm looking at the matches, and I'm going, oh my God, there's only 6 matches, but one match is sticking out, and it's going to make me ask you a pretty interesting question, but we'll get to that match in a second. Jon Moxley, Swerve Strickland, right? That's the World Championship. We saw, obviously, Jon Moxley defend the championship at the last pay-per-view against Edge. We saw the big nail shot on Dynamite a few weeks ago that made all the headlines. But Swerve Strickland, he is the number 1 contender. He faces Jon Moxley for the world belt. They had kind of like at the last pay-per-view at Revolution, you had like Swerve Strickland come out and like attack Jon Moxley at the end to kind of set this up a little bit more. Jon Moxley, Swerve Strickland. Does Swerve Strickland become the AEW World Champion again?
Yes, I do think he does. I think Swerve Strickland, for what, I do give AEW some flack sometimes. I definitely do. But Swerve Strickland is one of those guys that I want to tune in to see. And that's, over at AEW, I think he does a great job. And I feel like it's time for Jon Moxley to move aside and let Swerve carry the torch for AEW, going forward.
There's a women's match. Toni Storm obviously just finished up her feud with Mariah May. She's taking on Megan Bayne, somebody I've seen a bunch down in GCW. She's a very formidable I've seen her in the other indies as well, actually, pretty locally here in central New York. But I thought when I saw her before, she had kind of a gimmick that was larger than life. She seemed like not just your traditional local wrestler. And I think she's a pretty formidable foe. She's very jacked. She's not your skinny twig, muscular, but, thin. She's got, I don't want to say, I think she's bigger than Rhea Ripley. But she's got quite a build. I don't think she's going to win the title this week because of the fact that Toni Storm just got it. And Toni Storm is right now the hottest thing in AEW when it comes to the women's division.
I mean, Megan Bayne is, her build height is 5'10", and her build weight's 187, just so you know. That's bigger than Rhea.
Yes. And I think she's definitely a formidable foe. I think this should be interesting. It's great to see her kind of spotlighted here. She's brand new to AEW. She's been there maybe a month or less. But taking on Toni Storm, I think Toni Storm right now is the hottest thing going. And after beating Mariah May at the last pay-per-view to get the belt back, I think, this is just like Cody Rhodes after he won at WrestleMania. He didn't lose it at Backlash the next month. So I think that's the reason I'm picking Toni Storm to win this as well.
But I'm with you on that too.
A few other matches that catch my attention. Again, only 6 matches, and I think that number could maybe stay that way, and we'll get to a reason why I say that in a minute. But Kenny Omega, Ricochet, and the brand new AEW superstar, another person I've seen outside of AEW before. I couldn't wait for him to go to a big company. I thought he was great in TNA. I had no problem with him in TNA. But Speedball Mike Bailey, he is what Will Ospreay was a couple years ago when he was, outside the main companies. He's what I think a lot of those major stars were, that I think like the hottest thing on the indies. Speedball Mike Bailey was the modern day Will Ospreay in the sense of I know who he is, I love to watch him, and he doesn't work for any of the companies that we all watch, like WWE, AEW, right? Yeah. Finally, he is now working for one of those companies. This is for the AEW International Championship. If you haven't seen Speedball Mike Bailey, if you've just been watching AEW recently, you probably see him and Ricochet specifically are going to do what Ricochet and Will Ospreay did, and that's going to be flips. Amazing moves, amazing aerial assaults. I can't wait to see it. And adding Kenny Omega in here, obviously, is somebody who was Speedball Mike Bailey 10 yeyears ago, right? We all bought his T-shirt, despite the fact that he didn't ever work for any of the companies anybody watched before. He was bigger than WWE in a sense. Should make this match really good, and it highlights some of these people that we've watched over the last couple of years that are essentially big. I don't want to say they're bigger than the companies, but they've all made names for themselves. We all know them and follow them wherever they go because they're that good, and it doesn't matter what company they work for. And I think that's what's awesome about this match.
Yeah, I mean, all competitors involved. I mean, they're all talented. They all put in great work. I mean, you stole my thunder. I mean, Ricochet and Speedball are going to put on a clinic when it comes to the aerial assault and the all the different crazy movesets that they're known for. And plus Kenny Omega, I mean, he's been around a long time. He's got a pretty good moveset himself, so it's going to be fun. I'm actually going to pick Speedball Mike Bailey to win this. I think he's going to win the championship. I'm going with him. I'm a fan of him as well. I haven't watched as much of his work as I know you have, but of the work I have seen of him, the guy's very good. I'm disappointed he's not in WWE, but I want to see him get the title in AEW.
It was about a year ago, Bound for Glory, not the past one, but the year prior that was in Chicago, him and Will Ospreay. I thought put on the pro wrestling. We're talking WWE, AEW, all those companies. They put on the pro wrestling match of the year at Bound for Glory 2023 in Chicago. So, I mean, obviously, him and Will Ospreay are going to, showed you back then exactly what you can expect this weekend when he gets in there with Ricochet and Speedball Mike Bailey versus Will Ospreay in the future. I mean, these are all things I'm looking forward to a ton. But we move on to Death Riders without John Moxley because he's in the title match. Wheeler Yuta, Claudio, Pac taking on Rated FTR. I think this is a fun match because everybody involved is a name. It's not, it's for the World Trios Championship. I don't think it even needs that because I think it's big factions, the biggest factions, AEW's got going. It's like if the Judgment Day took on the Bloodline, essentially, in their versions. And like I said, Claudio and Cope, FTR is a big tag team. Pac is obviously a big name. So I'm really looking forward to this match. And what I like, again, is I keep alluding to it, 6 matches on this card. So things like the 6-man tag feel like they belong because like what makes like WrestleMania good or a lot of WWE pay-per-views good is you got good singles matches, but then you got some, other matches like the tag team matches thrown in there that are good too, but you don't have like so much that they get completely lost and you're like, why are we having this? Yeah. And I think that's a good example, right? We don't have too many matches. We don't really have any other tag team matches, which is good. This is, as of right now, the only tag team match in the card, so it makes it special, makes it unique. I like that. I think Rated FTR gets this win because, again, it's the sum of all the parts. But again, I guess I wonder if Rated FTR win, does that mean John Moxley wins later in the night?
I think it's going to be. I think the Death Riders are going to be empty-handed after the show.
Interesting. As we finish off 2 more matches left, thank God. Chris Jericho versus Bandito. Title versus mask. It's Chris Jericho is the Ring of Honor champion currently. Is Bandito going to be the new Ring of Honor world champion heading into their big supercard in about 2 weeks?
Yes, I think Bandito will win. I think Chris Jericho, I've said it for a while, Chris Jericho needs to take a little bit of a sabbatical and just focus on Fozzy. I'm not like this. All this latest stuff with him is just, I don't know. It's to me, it's like, think of it like this. It's like Brett Favre playing for the Vikings after all the years he played for the Packers. Like, it's like, all right, dude, let's take a seat. Let's relax a little bit.
Did you catch the Chris Jericho interaction with a kid a couple weeks ago? I think it was on Collision. That was, yes, he's the kid's making fun of him with like, what are you, 51 years old? And then Chris Jericho's like, well, look, I got these. You don't got these. And then this like 8-year-old kid pulls his shirt up and he's got like abs. Jealous of that kid right there. I don't even know how you do that. I remember back in the day, remember that one kid that was like on all the talk shows back in the day? It was like little Fabio, or he was something like, he was like this like 8-year-old kid who was like jacked. He was like from some other like.
There's a kid recently called Baby Gronk.
Yeah. There's been a few of those. I don't know how you even do that with that kind of body when you're younger. It's just crazy to think. But we move on to this final match. It's not the world title match. I don't think it's going to be the main event of this pay-per-view, but I think it's the focal point of this discussion. There's only 6 matches on this card. Daniel Garcia versus Adam Cole for the TNT Championship, and the stipulation is no time limit and no outside interference is permitted. Now, obviously, we talked a few times in this segment about only 6 matches on this card, and there's a stipulation in here that says no time limit. So, Brandon, I ask you, Daniel Garcia versus Adam Cole, at the end of the night, will this be the new longest match in AEW history?
No, I don't think it will be. I will say this, though. I do think it starts the show.
You think it starts the show? Now, remember, we saw that one Dynamite, right, where the one match with MJF went over an hour. We've seen some Iron Man matches there before. I just think it's
going to be a long match, but I don't think it's going to be the longest match. And I do think Adam Cole, Bay is going to win.
I think overall it's just interesting, right? Because this match has that stipulation, but then we're also looking at the fact that as of right now, there's only 6 matches. And to be 100% honest with you, as we end up this segment, this looks like a perfect card. This looks like a card where you don't have to follow all the stories. You don't have to be all into it. If you're an AEW fan or not AEW, this is just, I'm looking at this and I'm like, that looks like a perfect card to me. That 6 matches, all of them, I recognize everyone in them. All of them have importance. They're for championships, right? Or
it'll still be 4.5, 5 hours.
Well, if Daniel Garcia and Adam Cole, right, go the length that, AEW might make them go, yes, easily, right? Maybe we're lucky and they just go 45 minutes and then, and again, but you bring up a good point, though, in the end, right? It's still going to be 4.5 hours. So if you can do this and still 4.5 hours, then why do we need 10 matches, right? If you're putting on 4 hours, putting on 6 matches, it's all about quality over quantity. This pay-per-view card looks one of the best I have seen, and it's with a short build, so give AEW some credit. From Philadelphia this week, Land of the Extreme, AEW Dynasty, the second pay-per-view sandwich between Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania for AEW.